Thank you. My name is Dorian Harris. This will be my first speech with Toastmasters. And since it's my first speech, I'll just share some of my experiences and just what I've learned from them. And I'll start off with myself at an early age. I went to this camp that my dad had no business sending me to. I don't know why I went there. It was this camp where I met this kid who had very stinky breath. He was about a foot shorter than me, and my methodology, my narrow-minded thinking back then was, if you're nice to people, then they'll be nice to you. That's just my mindset back then, and I guess it was a kid thing, an innocence thing, essentially. But this strategy worked for a little while, but when I reached to this point, when I reached to this kid, it just stopped working for some reason. He just didn't like me. He didn't like my guts. I didn't know why, really. So I reached a point where I was sick of it, really. So I kind of made a stand against him. And on some level, I think he respected me for that, but it wasn't really clear. We still kind of hated our guts. And then the next day, I remember, we were on a field trip, and we went to this IMAX theater where you see all these projections on the wall of these crazy animals. It was almost like these animals were in the room. And he had to sit next to me, of course. I was like, man, I'm kind of sick of this. I was like, hey, you like that giraffe, man? And he's like, yeah, it's actually kind of cool. And then for some reason we started connecting on some level. And moving on a little later on in my life, I realized that this strategy of just being nice to people wasn't going to work. It's going to take something a little different. And first you got to look at yourself and you got to identify some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses. And what I found was, I don't know if anybody's taken relationship marketing class. I don't know if anybody's heard of the DISC at all? Nobody? You've heard of DISC? Okay, yeah. The DISC, there's like 4 characteristics of the DISC that categorize people. D stands for dominance, I, influence, S, steadiness, and C is for conscientiousness. And pretty much everybody is summed up in one of these categories or a couple of them. And I'm a SC. And S's are people who like helping people, showing loyalty, sincere with appreciation, have minimal conflict. And C's is just what I'm a little bit of. It's like weighing pros and cons. And D and I is what 90% of the population are, essentially. And D's like getting immediate results, have power and authority, and like to solve problems. And this is just a tool people can use to just kind of find out who they are, essentially. And then another phase, and that was a big thing with me, just find out who you are. People go through it throughout their whole lives, really. But something that I found, my coach told me something while I was playing football. It was about 2 years ago. We didn't have a good season all really. We lost a lot of games, and he just told, brought us all in the meeting room. He told us, he said, no one really cares. I was like, okay, thanks. That's a pretty good motivational speech, coach. It's definitely a good one. I'll keep that in mind. But what he really meant by that is that you don't have time to wallow in your sorrows. You don't have time to act depressed because no one really cares. And in a sense, he was right, I feel like, but it's something that I didn't really want to accept. And I found that a remedy for this little problem was to build this wall for yourself. This wall was your fortitude and who you were and who you are and some of your passions that you have. And once all of this is developed, you'll be able to form this wall where a lot of negativity couldn't get in. And then once you form this wall, you're able to demonstrate, people will either respect you or notice you in some sense. And then once all of this happens, you're able to demonstrate that innocence that people tend to forget, that aspects of caring for people that people seem to overlook at times. Even you kind of see at the Citadel, you have to have integrity, good moral values, do the right thing. But what happened to the generic idea of just looking out for people and for caring for others? And it's an innocence, it's that innocent factor that you had when you were young that people tend to forget about. But that's all I have for you guys, and thanks very much. Appreciate it.